And to be ourselves, we have to know thyself. If you don't know what your element is, and you talk about awakening, and this is one key component, because if you don't know yourself, you're sleepwalking.
You came here with a reason and a purpose. It's just, how do you translate that when they don't give you a language for it?
Love who you are and what you've got.
The alternative to all that negativity is gratitude. The goal is you figure out your missing element and you cultivate it. And as soon as you remember who you are, it gets so much easier.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted a better understanding of who you are and why you do the things you do, then do we have the Missing Element Astrology show for you. Today I'll be talking with Debra Silverman, astrologist, psychologist, author of a brilliant book on the 4 elements, The Missing Element. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about discovering your element, your stars, and what in the world's in store for you. That plus we'll talk about why normal is just a setting on the dryer, coming out of the fiery closet and Santa Fe, and what in the world Sting, Madonna, and the Jewish mafia have to do with anything. So welcome to the show, Debra. Are you ready to shine?
I love that. What does Sting, Madonna, and the Jewish mafia have to do with the show today? I love that beginning.
Woohoo! All right, so on that note, we might as well go there. How did you end up working with Sting and Madonna?
I ended up traveling for 1.5 years with Sting around the world. It was really an honor. I was his mediator for the police. It was a crazy story. I was unbelievably inspired from the most random of circumstances to go to London. I met his best friend, unbeknownst to me. I gave his best friend a reading. I had a really strong connection with him. The next 2 days later, I flew into Boulder. I was living in Colorado. The phone rang. It was Sting. And he said, "Debra, you don't know me, but my best friend can't stop talking about you. Can I have a reading?" And I was like, "Who is this?" And he said, "Sting." And I was like, "Oh," because I didn't know. And then I said, "Here's what I said." This is so Debra. I said, "If you give me 2 free tickets to your show, I'll give you a reading." And he said, "Tomorrow night it is." So I went down to his backstage, gave him a reading, and did something I've never done before or since. At the end of the proper reading, which was a really good reading, he went to the bathroom, he came back in, and I said, "Can we do the weirdest thing? I want to switch chairs. So I'm going to go sit where you're sitting in his Moroccan rugged back of his unbelievable backstage. Yeah. And you're going to come to where I'm sitting, put on my little glasses and look at the computer and look at the chart." He was like, "All right." So we switched chairs and I became him. And I said some things that I don't know what I was saying, but I knew about the band and about his family. And at the end of it, I said to him, "Can we switch chairs? I don't like being you." "You don't like being me," he said. I was like, "This is way too much energy for my little body." We switched chairs. That night I went back to the concert with my good friend who knew all things police. I did not know the band was as famous as it was. Yeah. And then phone rang again at midnight and he said, "Can I see you again?" And I said, "Next stop is your wife." And he said, "I'm flying you out." So that became a 1.5 year relationship with me with Sting traveling around the world. And then Madonna was a birthday gift from him to her. And then that opened up another whole big door. And off I went to the stars.
Woohoo! How did it change your career or your understanding of things?
Good question. I always wondered about that. Like the day before I met him, I was the same astrologer as the day after. But because I kept hanging out with him and then I became Sting's astrologer, it changed the trajectory of my identity. But honestly, I'm not impressed with celebrities. I don't really understand that whole world. I find it fascinating, said the psychologist. I find it interesting how we project onto someone this incredible persona that we all then want to be. But anyways, yes, it definitely changed my career because, well, I traveled a lot for one and ended up in Madison Square Garden sitting next to him for 2. I mean, there's a lot of magical experiences that occurred.
What's interesting to me is you talk about in the book, and we're going to dive into the elements and the importance of the elements. You talk about, I'm going to call you a closet fire element. So it wasn't out of the closet until an experience in Santa Fe at another famous person's home. But there's this interesting attraction that you have to fire, isn't there?
Look at you with all your colors. You're so fire. Yeah. I was self-conscious. I was slightly embarrassed. I mean, as a kid, I didn't know I had fire. I didn't have this language. This is why my work is so important, because I love telling parents, understand your kid, facilitate their natural rhythm, because you get self-conscious when you're in the room and then suddenly you're super excited and you get super enthusiastic and there's no off button. You're like, why is everybody else sitting there while I'm jumping up and down? So I tried to suppress that impulse because it was making me self-conscious. And then once I studied astrology, I was like, ha, 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 you are so fire. This will not be kept underneath the bed. So then I got out of under the bed and I wrote that book. And now I celebrate everybody's beautiful elemental constitution and say, just be yourself because everyone else is taken.
I like that. And to be ourselves, we have to know thyself. And so it begets the question. If you don't know what your element is, and you talk about awakening in your book, and this is one path toward awakening, this is one key component, because if you don't know yourself, you're sleepwalking. How important is it to get to know our four elements and what we are?
Well, and you said it, know thyself. Know thyself is probably the most important. It was on the wall. I love thinking about that in the oracles in the time of Greece. Yeah. You'd walk in to get an oracle reading, and this was the words on the temple. So there is nothing to me. I mean, I know I'm biased, but there's nothing more important than you being comfortable and understanding your own nature in order to fulfill your promise, which everyone has one. You don't come to this planet without volunteering, and you don't get pushed on the bus. So you came here with a reason and a purpose. It's just, how do you translate that when they don't give you a language for it?
Thank you. And it means if we came here with a reason, if we came here with a purpose, then things are not happening to us, they're happening for us and from us. And that means everything, particularly from a lesson point of view, the pain, everything is here to serve us.
That's why the first chapter of the book is called Crisis. And that's why during COVID, we sold out. The book went crazy because you use crisis, said the soul, to wake you up. I don't like this story. I think it's a bad plot. Why would you use crisis to wake you up? How about a memo? How about an email? A notarized letter comes directly from your whoever, your source, God, the mentor, and says, Debra, get ready. Big change is coming next month. They're like, okay, well, thank you so much. No. They throw frying pans at you. That crisis happens. You're on your knees. And then suddenly, oh, you wanted me to change?
When I was living on Maui, I had a past life regression hypnotherapy session with a woman who trained under Dolores Cannon. And I had looked at we'll call my chart, an Excel spreadsheet that showed 36 different hospitalizations and severe injuries, including 2 near-death experiences and another one that broke all the bones in front of my heart, behind my heart, and above my heart. And we had to dive in and say, what in the world is going on, Debra?
What? Wait, say that again a little slower.
I had to look at my chart on this Excel spreadsheet.
No, tell me, did that really happen to you?
Oh, I've had 2 near-death experiences. I've broken all the bones in front of the heart, behind the heart, above my heart. I have twin titanium femurs, twin titanium hips. I do run like the wind. I do mountain bike. I used to be a professional cyclist. I was a speed skater. I'm every bit as strong as I am today. But I was getting, apparently, supposedly, on the other side, I spoke with a council of elders. And I said, give me the works. And they said, no, you don't want the works. And in my good Jewish chutzpah, I said, no, give me the works. You get this. And so clangety, clangety, clang with the 2x4s until I renegotiated. And that is still their best steering method for getting my attention is, well, just break a little rib here, or a little something there to get my attention.
Well, you can ask for a softer, smaller, little less, and they can give you alarm clocks before they go off.
I wrote the automatic writing experience. So after I learned, I'm going to dive into automatic writing every single day and go, God's uses source, universe, angels, guides, tell me what I need to know. I'm listening so we can have this, my mantra now, kind, gentle, easy, good.
Oh, I love that story. Well, you learned the hard way. You know why? In your chart, the planet Mars, the red planet in the heavens, that's like the real male energy. When you were born, Mars and the sun were holding hands. It only happens once a year. So on the day you were born, the male energy that gives you all this chi and makes your glasses yellow and gets you all excited, this whole lifetime makes you speed bike and do everything fast and hard because you're under the influence of Mars. And Mars learns by accidents. Hello, Mars is. So I'm just giving you a heads up. One little detail about your chart frees you up to realize, whoa, I have excessive energy, said Mars in Leo. It's in Leo. It's like you're so life came and hit you and bumped you into your ribs. But you can definitely, as you know, listen and silent, ready, have the same letters. So in order to listen, you have to be silent.
Yes.
And you have to go inside and go, excuse me, do you want to talk to me? Because I don't need the frying pan.
I completely and totally agree. So let's go from there to everybody's element. But first, it does beget the question. So somebody is told, you have this. You have Mars and the sun coming together. That's the day you were born. Is it as it is? Or can we do things to kind of temper or balance? Is probably the best word.
Oh my God. You're like singing my song. So first of all, the point of my book is to turn on the observer. So why do we study personality types? Why do we study astrology? Why do we do psychology at any level? So somebody becomes the witness or the observer that looks over you and goes, what are you doing? Without being mean, but ask those hard questions. And so part of my practice in the book is all about this, is what's the actual means to turn on the observer. So in the middle of the story, before you get in the bike accident, some little voice goes, can you slow down? And you go, oh, thank you so much for the feedback.
Thank you very much.
It happened to me just recently. I'm a biker too, and I have speed in my chart. And I had a little teeny accident. Well, yeah, it was a little teeny, but it was loud enough for me to go, oh, I guess I wasn't listening. I was so mad at myself.
It's interesting. I look at the world as and the universe, however we want to call it, as a cosmic setup. And so I'm out for a bike ride about a month ago, and some seed had been planted in me that even though you've really gotten to know this bike well, it's not that not old for you. It's only, 4 or 5 months old. Maybe you have more traction than you think you do. Particularly, it's very sandy and gravelly around here. I'm out by Joshua Tree. Maybe there's more traction than you think. So I'm coming back from a ride. I'm really tired. I said, look, you're tired. Let's go home. Let's just take it easy. But as I'm rounding a bend, I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about it. I think there's more traction than a boom. I went, and that's where I boo-booed myself again. I went into my automatic writing, and they said, you like to learn by living on the edge. You like to understand what there is. Don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. Certainly you can learn to slow down even a bit more. But I was fascinated by this.
It's just so loud. I mean, you look at your chart and I say, oh my God, really? I mean, is there a mystery here, Michael? So all of you listening, you have personality types that are either really impulsive, like we are, fire, impulse, Mars, or very sedate, and you tend to be at home. Let's go through them. So water personality. They're super quiet. They're introverts. They loved COVID. They don't want to have to go out of the house. They have the ability to cook and to play house and to cuddle and to snuggle. And they'd rather not be around people. People kind of bug them, water people, and they cry. Water is tears. So they have an emotionally sensitive sensibility that when they're watching the commercials or they're hearing a story about someone else, suddenly they're crying or they're in a bad mood and they don't know where the mood came from. And people judge them for being downers when really they're deep, quiet, internal, spiritual people.
Let's pause that for a second. I love what you just said. People judge them for being a downer. This is like somebody coming to one of my classes and going, Michael, how do I get more motivated? I don't have your energy. You don't need to have my energy. Love who you are and what you've got. Right, Debra?
That's right. I was just looking at your chart just to prove that. Love who you are and what you've got. Because, Mr. Michael, you have all 4 elements. And want to hear a joke? They didn't give you very much fire because you know why?
I've already got enough.
So some people are missing an element. You only have 1 planet in fire. I don't know if you knew that. So you're missing fire, but God said, please don't give him any more, for God's sake. Let Michael just come in with that Mars in Leo, and that'll be it.
It's interesting because there's a quiz you can take in your book. I don't know if quiz is the right word. There's a chart. There's a way to analyze which element you are. And so I went through the elements there, and then I had to go thoroughly dive into the book and read water men, earth men, air men, and such to figure it out, because based on the quiz, I was everything.
That's the right answer. The goal of the game is 4 wheels on a car.
Mm-hmm.
You want all 4 elements to be balanced. If one element goes off, so it's the right answer. Your chart didn't come balanced, but you, having been hit and smacked around, you're like, oh, okay, you want me to learn about balance? I will.
So let's go back in. So we've got water element. You told us kind of who is watery. Maybe we should dive into this a little bit more. We'll play with all 4 today so people can really get a good understanding. Water energies and keywords.
Well, it's in astrological terms, but please don't stop there. So if you're watching or listening to us and you're like, I don't know why I related to water because I'm not a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. It doesn't matter. We're talking in a universal language. So what's the key words? Sensitivity, compassion, emotionality, creativity, psychic, addiction. At best, they're healers.
Very good. And then, well, I think you just covered everything. That you gave us some keywords here. So give us the greatest strengths of a water person. We got healers. I caught that.
They're the best kissers. They're the best cuddlers. They're the best person to have with your kids or your animals. They're the best people that make chicken soup. They're the best people that you want to have around to make you soothe you and rub your back and give you a hug. I love these people. They just melt your heart.
Very good. And
okay,
then
right along. We got all 4 to go through, and we only have so much time, Michael.
We're because we're almost done through 1. Unless you've got other stuff to cover. Last, then I'll move quickly. Shadow side of water.
Oh, they're so vulnerable, and they're depressed, and they can't get motivated, and they feel like they're victims. Like nothing really works. They have the oi thing, like they do the complaining thing. At worst, they're downers. At best, they're healers because they've been through the addiction. They come out the other side and they go, look, I know what you're feeling. Let me help you. Come right this way.
Excellent. So let's go to air. What can you tell us about air?
That's me. Air is funny, verbal, social, flighty, fickle, all over the place. Mm-hmm. Forget their names. They're called airheads. They are intellectual. They are verbal diarrhea at their worst. You have air in your chart. They are the best questions. They ask a million questions and don't even wait for the answer. They just like asking the questions. They're the party person. You can put at a party and they know everyone for about 5 minutes and they get bored. They are brilliant writers. They are automatic writers. They have the ability to just let things, they're bamboo shoot. Air is like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just letting spirit come through me. Woohoo! And then you're like, what did you just say? And they're like, I don't know. What did I just say? They're very funny and witty and characters. They're characters out of a TV show.
It makes me think about it, well, particularly on Maui. So many, I was a raw vegan on Maui. And I'm no longer a raw foodist because it spun me into air. And I would see so many people on Maui that were unscrewed and unglued in the air.
And air people don't eat. That's so funny you said that. They tend to live off air. And they tend to, some people live to eat and some eat to live. Mm-hmm. They definitely eat to live. They don't really care about food, air people. So that is very often, that's a very perception. Yes, air people are constantly coming up with a new idea. They're changing their diets, they're changing their clothes, they're changing their ideas, and they're harmony at all costs. You have this in your chart. You have quite a bit of this. It's the love of putting words to things. Mm-hmm. So, and when you're done, everyone feels connected because air connects all of us across time. We're breathing the same air that Shakespeare breathed. Like every king, every queen, every peasant has shared. I love that idea that we're all sharing the same air. That's a very air thing to say.
I love it. So let's go to the next one. I have here a grounding mat that I have my hands on. My feet are basically barefoot on the ground here. My wife and I wrote barefoot running and barefoot walking to get as connected to the earth as we could.
Okay, but first you want to hear the shadow of air. Don't go so fast.
Okay.
The shadow of air is they're very fickle, superficial. They're on the phone, they're on social media, they pretend they have friends and they don't really, and they play the game of what does it look like and how do I present myself rather than the authentic self. So they can conform and please and seek approval at all costs. And therefore they change their name and change their expression just to please the other. And that's very disingenuous. So low side of air, fake, high side of air, eloquent, articulate, verbal. And their gift is relationship. They just love being in love. You and your wife have this in your chart. Like they're bicycle built for two. They want to do everything together because they love relationship.
We do have a
Look
tandem.
at it.
This is the only time, in
I
fact, that we
knew it.
haven't
I
had our
knew it.
tandem with us because we somehow found our way in the desert, which is a whole nother story, but we usually are riding our tandem. And we do have matching glasses, and we're that couple.
Yes, exactly. That's 100% air, and you both have it.
Thank you. All right.
She's got a lot of it.
So now let's go on to Earth.
Slow it down, baby. You got it. You got it. Your feet are taking off the socks, sitting on the grass. You're counting your money. You're growing things in the garden. You're making sure you're on time. You're doing Excel spreadsheets. You like taxes. Did someone say I like taxes? You're cleaning your car. You're taking care of all the details. And you're looking at the grocery store at Whole Foods. What's the ingredients? Oh, no, can't eat that. Picky, picky, picky. So Earth are the people who are practical, grounded. They fulfill their tasks. They measure their success by money and what they've accomplished. They can't sit still because they should, operative word, they should. This is you. They should be getting it right. They're all about the detail. Mm-hmm. And they criticize themselves, all the Earth signs, because they feel like they're never doing enough. Like, I should be working hard. I should be betting more successful. I should have a higher blah, blah, blah. I should be thinner. Like, it's a constant. It's not very nice when you get the bad case of Earth because they feel like, well, should is a big word.
How does an Earth person stop shoulding all over themselves?
So the alternative to all that negativity is gratitude. So as soon as the Earth person says, you know what, and you're such a good example, they say, you know what, I'm so happy I have this body, and I'm so happy I have this job, and I love my pillows in my bed. And once the generation of genuine appreciation is present, then that whiny, complaining, negative, like the rant that goes on, they don't say it out loud, by the way. Earth people just inside their head are criticizing themselves and you. Mm-hmm. Once there's gratitude and you exchange that mean voice for compassion, and it's a practice. This is not easy. Then everything changes in a minute. Gratitude is the answer for Earth people. I'm so thankful that I have dinner tonight, and you pray over your food.
I'm so thankful that I have Debra Silverman on the show today.
Exactly.
Very cool. Oh, right. Yeah. What else do we get to know about Earth people?
Well, they have an incredible gift of service. Like their natural instinct is to fix things in your house and want to make you dinner and want to do the dishes. And they don't want you to put the dishes. Don't put the fork down. How many times have I told you not to put the fork down inside the dish? You're like, what? They have very specific requests. So the high road is they're controlling everything, the schedule, the time. I love them. They're dependable. The low road is they're sticklers for time and getting it right. And they're telling you to move out of the kitchen because you can't do it as good as them. And they become a little bit controlling. Would that be a good word to use on the downside? And the upside is service, genuinely love to give, philanthropist at their best, and really nice clothes.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. It also begets the question, and this may be outside of the scope of the interview, but it's certainly worth planting the seed that we don't want to know just about our elements. We want to know our partners so that we can understand them at their worst and help maybe even bring them into balance at their best.
Bingo. What a gift. So you're a real partner. You have a lot of air. So you're always trying to balance. But a regular Earth person doesn't do that. They're singular and they're all about taking control and being responsible. So they're the ones going, why am I always doing all the work? Because they don't know how to partner. So you have a different version because you're Libra rising, but most Earth people can be very, at their worst, they complain all the time. I'm always working. I'm always taking care of the money. Why do I have to pack? Why do we have to be on time? You're so like, excuse me, you don't have to complain. You could turn all that into, I'm so happy we're going to be on time. And if you listen to me, I'll help you get the car done. In fact, I finished already. I packed it all up and I love doing this. Immediate change.
Beautiful. So shall we move on to fire then?
Dun, 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 dun. Yes.
What can you tell us about fire?
I feel bad because I always say this, but it's my favorite element. I probably shouldn't say that. This is
that like having 4 children and saying that you have one that's your favorite?
Exactly. It's not the right thing to say. So how does it go? Fire is enthusiasm, excitement, energetics, physical activity, blunt, honesty, humor. I know. It's the element that has to do with get up and go. It's the part in all of us that sticks our foot in our mouth and says things and we're like, oh God, did I just say that? It's the part in all of us that loves to travel and have adventures and jump off cliffs and be able to get something done with enthusiasm and then just get everybody inspired and make sure you're the leader of the band. And then you don't want to do it anymore because you're tired and you want to go home. Because finally, when fire gets tired, they fall on their head. They work. They play hard. They drink too much. They eat too much. They spend too much. And then suddenly they realize, am I in trouble? And yes, you are. So downside of fire, over exuberance, enthusiasm that creates competition. This was part of the conversation with Madonna. I mean, she is such a classical fire personality. Stand on the stage, stand apart from everybody, show off. And then people get mad, but they're also attracted. So they get the haters come to the fire people. You're too loud. You're too much. And then they become withdrawn. And the downside of fire ready is depression, weight gain, and the inability to get up. Now that's shocking, but that's what happens. That's what I was going that way before I wrote the book and really understood my fire because I was self-conscious. Like before I got myself freed and read that book and became an astrologer, I was self-conscious about my fire. Like, why do I have so much energy?
Did it help? Sorry, did it help that you ended up surrounding yourself with fires to an extreme and so that you could understand how to temper those energies? Because not everybody was loving Sting and loving Madonna. And so you got to learn, hey, wait, I've got to let some of this slide off of me.
Yes, I really, especially Sting. Some people have Teflon and they don't let the insults, the painful emotions for a fire person. It's like, who cares? Other people who are water go, you hurt my feelings, and they wear it. So I learned a lot. I really learned a lot from hanging out with Sting. That was a big gift. He is very gracious. Like I remember saying to him one day, who loves you? Because I love him so much. And he said, everyone. And I was like, oh my God, Sting, that is not the right answer. But it is the right answer. Because everyone, but see, that's such a confident a fire sign to say, everyone loves me. To be able to have that kind of self-esteem is a powerful statement, but it does create reaction because some people get pissed off. How dare you say that? And that is fire. There's nothing lukewarm about fire. It runs hot or it runs hot. There's no medium.
Thank you. So should we dive a little bit more into how to balance some of these elements and then go into what you saw on the chart for Jessica and myself?
Yes. And let's just take a downside of fire. The downside of fire is the indulger who doesn't have an off button, who's a little bit loud, and finds himself getting into trouble all the time. The upside of fire is they're inspirational, they're coaches, they're leaders, they're astrologers, they're people that get you all lit up and so excited and feeling so good about yourself. So you can see one's a cheerleader and one's a grump. And you want to aim for the cheerleader. Yeah. So essentially in the name of balance, you read the book and you figure out, what is my missing element? The subtitle of the book is Inspiring Compassion for the Human Condition, because everybody's screwed up. There's nobody listening to this podcast that is not somehow or other saying to themselves, so I really related to water because I stay home a lot, and I really related to earth. I get a lot done. But that fire thing, ew. And as soon as you negate or you tone down one of the elements or you push it away because somewhere you got judged or you don't like that part of yourself, the system goes off and you lose those four wheels. And suddenly the whole car goes crooked. So the goal is, in the name of balance, and this is not easy, you figure out your missing element and you cultivate it. So it's like for you, Michael, I would imagine water being still, being quiet, going in and doing nothing on purpose would be unnatural. But you've learned meditation. Yeah. You've learned how to breathe. And once you insert the new behavior, I swear to you, and listen to me, I have a school that happens twice a year in January and September. And hundreds of people from around the world come to study astrology. From the first class to the last class, the transformation is ridiculous because they actually remembered the part of themselves they left behind that got squished for some unknown reason. Any one of those elements. They stopped crying. They stopped talking. They stopped being practical and cleaning their house. They stopped moving energy and having sex. So something got left behind. And then they read the book and they take the class. The class is really where I get super excited because I get these love letters when they're done. Aww. I like love letters. And they just say, oh my God, my kids, I finally understand my kids, or my husband, he never talks. He has no air in his chart. No wonder he never talks. He doesn't have that sociable. And I've been trying to make him different rather than saying, honey, I understand you now. And everything changes once that sentence begins.
Thank you. How important is nature and uncovering our element with nature, or positioning ourselves? I laugh. We ended up in the desert. I can't help saying it with a straight face, by Joshua Tree for the winter. That's where universe guided us, which is moving us to fire. As a fiery individual, and I'm going too hot to get me out. How important is that to find that resonant balance with nature, either where you're at or positioning yourself where it brings ease?
Well, that's a very profound question. And of course, your environment is conducive or not. And we aren't all free to be able to change our location if we will. Not everybody has the mobility to do so. So for me, it becomes an inner terrain. Like it's an inside job. So the nature, this is really essential. If you get up in the morning, it always starts with water. Think about the day. First thing you do in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your hair, you take a shower, you have a cup of tea, and you do water. Now, if you're highly evolved, you're going to meditate first thing in the morning, because that's what water requests. Please stop. Remember, the next part of the day, you get your phone out. You got to figure out what the day looks like. You got your little schedules. Everybody's talking to everybody. That's air. The next part of the day is, okay, so what are we doing for dinner tonight? Are you cooking or am I? Are we going out? Earth. Did everything get done today? Where's my list? And then at the end of the day, we drink fire water. We fire up the evening. We turn on the music. We make love, or we have fun or not. And these four elements are constantly showing up in our lives. Back to nature, I make a very deliberate practice of when I drink the water, consciously acknowledging. I happen to, as you know, live in Hawaii. So I literally, deliberately experience the water, the wind, the air. I'm very conscientious of taking the elements, because in the tarot deck, the magician card has all four elements. The very first card in the deck, when you first come into this consciousness, according to the tarot, first you get the Fool, first card. What a goofball we are for even signing up for this planet. Second, and then the first card that comes next is the High Priestess. She's like, everyone be quiet. We've got to get the spiritual thing in focus. And then the next card is the magician, who has all four elements sitting on his table. And he's like, look, if you're going to do this life, you've got to get to know these four elements. So nature is the deep respect for the physical plane. And obviously we're, still in quarantine to some extent. We're still under the effect of this crazy bug. And now we're going on the inside. That's what's going on. So you want to ask yourself, if it's too hot on the outside, if you're in a desert where the sun is beaming down, then you're going to do the work inside of yourself to cool yourself off and pull down your high energy, Mr. Michael, and start to learn about going in. Because when you're in the desert, there's lots of time to go in.
There is. And that's why we were positioned here is we follow universe's cue, and we ended up here so we can have a giant Etch-a-Sketch. The desert shakes everything clear. So you're shaking the Etch-a-Sketch, everything's clear, now we can build. And I've got a Buddha behind me that is a fountain, bringing the water element. I choose not to take showers here, but to take baths so that I spend time kind of like a merman each day in water. To balance.
Good job. That's beautiful. And look at you, Mr. Air, on a podcast with your yellow glasses. This is so air. You share your words, automatic writing. You're so good at air. And of course, we don't wonder about your fires.
So let's dive into Jessica and my chart. I asked a few different questions before a couple days ago to your team. Hopefully they came to you. If not, I can ask them again. But I'm curious what we can learn from this, both as an individual for Jessica and myself, individual couple, and what everybody can learn from this.
Well, first of all, this is now, you're moving into astrology now. So let's distinguish. So the elements, the book has no astrology in it whatsoever. It's just purely my psychotherapy practice complemented by this ancient door called the elements. And it doesn't require you believing in a thing about woo-woo. You can walk away from, although I know your audience is very open-minded. The book is just a beginner's entrance, the missing element into understanding your character. Now we're talking about the charts. And your wife is in a, like her thought process over the last year has been forced, similar to you with your accidents and with your body, her mind is being forced to reduce and relinquish identities. So she's changing. And it requires a hard, when the mind has to change points of view or thought processes or who am I, she's really had a rewrite about her own narrative, about herself. And that's still happening. So what that suggests is that 2021 is a year for her to suspend, which is perfect in the desert, the answers by being willing to listen, which I know you're really good at. So that's an outstanding, it only happens once in a lifetime, the one she's under.
Wow.
The influence. Yeah. If she's in a major, just to use a technical term, it sounds so funny. She has Uranus opposite her Mercury. It only happens once in a lifetime. So that's a very significant marker that would talk to me about her change. I'm looking here. Next year, so your change started in December. So she's going through it at a mental level. You're having a 10-plate shift. You're in what's called the Saturn Cycle every 7 years. And it just started as of January 2021. It's just begun. It will be much clearer by the end of next year. So you don't want to push. You want to let this change occur. It's going to feel uncomfortable because you're like, give me the answers. I got an astrologer coming on the show. I'm going to see what I can get, honey. Just sit right there. I'll talk to you when the show's over. No, the answers come to you. You'll feel it. The template's shifting. By the end of this year, and certainly the end of next year, it'll be much easier for me to say to you, oh, you figured out what the next steps are. But you're a futurist. So you're always trying to push. You have a very compulsive brain that is got a very strong appetite to figure it out, said the Virgo. But life said, Michael, we are not going to let you figure this one out.
I know. And automatic writing every single day, it will laugh at me if I try to give the answers. It will give such steering and guidance. But on this one, it's like, chill out, man. It'll come to you when it comes to you.
Exactly. So that's the short answer. Did you want to ask me any other questions? Your chart is so interesting, Mr. You have a very strong mind.
What can we learn from my chart? And then what I've never, before this interview, I've looked at charts very vaguely, but with not any amount of detail. I see things on kind of the upper to the left quadrant down to the left side, nothing on one whole side of this chart. What am I looking at?
Well, it's so funny. That's irrelevant. I love when we don't know enough. Astrology is ancient. It's the oldest science on earth. It's been carried across 5,000 years. There must be a reason we're still talking about Jesus. His story was really relevant. We haven't let him go, and we haven't let astrology go. Two of the things, and Buddha. There's a few things that have lasted across all time. So the short answer is it's all on the left because you're an inventor. The left side is an individual. You cannot follow. You have your own style, you have your own taste, but since you were a kid, like, I want to do it this way. They're like, oh God, you're a pleaser. You want them to like you, but you've got such clear taste. So that's not really the big thing in your chart is you're stubborn. You have a very strong character that when you know something, they can't get you off it. And the release of your whole chart is Aquarius. If you learned astrology right about, I'm going to say in a year from now, I'd love to give you access to the school. At the end of 2021, and the entrance, I'm going to say even more like literally a year from now, March 2022. So funny to think about that. Your chart is going to be freed up to the next level of your life's work. So you're in a transition right now. It will emerge, and I can point to the year this happened that you will say to me, oh my God, that was the year. What happened in, ready? 2000. The year 1999-2000 should have been a big turning point for you. What happened?
A 6.5 year, very poor relationship, but good with great learnings. That ended very dramatically. At the same time, I ended up trying to move to San Diego and got punted right back out to Colorado and started 2 simultaneous accelerated master's degrees at CSU, which had never been tried before, was done successfully with a lot of learnings along the way. And so I cast away one dream, becoming a professional triathlete, and picked up the school dream, which led to back into coaching and authorship and a whole slew of directions, none of which directly had to do with the degree, but was the shift, that time period.
Exactly. So that was a shift that occurred beyond your free will. So you like to be in control.
Mhm.
You have a little obsession about wanting to be in details and get them all right. And life just looks at you and goes, there goes Michael again. So this is what the book is about. Turn on the observer and go, wow, she's right. I'm obsessive about details, Mercury and Virgo, conjunct Pluto. But this moment, it's not quite as strong as 2000 because that was really a destiny line. At this next year, at this time, a destiny line is going to emerge, and you don't have to figure it out, Mr. Think all the time. You can do your practice of following your favorite things. That's what I say to you. Your job, which you're so good at, is really staying true. I want to just see here where your progressed moon is. There's one small detail that we have in astrology called the progressed moon that you can buy on my website. Okay, so here's the answer. You're going to love this. In 4 months, March, April, May, June, July. Mark my words. In July, you will begin the shift that I'm describing about, and it will slow you down and you'll find home. So you're going to move somewhere July
I'm ready
or
to
August.
cry. You have no idea on that one. Let me just soak that in for a second. Okay, thank you. Just you say you will fly home, and I'm just like going water.
Yes. So it's in 4 to 5 months it's going to find you. And you will find yourself wiggling right now and being scared. And you are that obsessive personality type. But by the time your progressed moon enters Taurus, everything slows down. You find home. Your body anchors. You come into the earth energy. That's so sweet. He's feeling it so deeply. I love that about you, Michael.
Thank you.
It's such a powerful thing. You know what element that is?
Water?
Yes. And water is when the body takes in words and lets them land rather than just thoughts. And most podcasts, I'm going to acknowledge you right now. Most podcast people that give me interviews, they're all in their head. You just dropped in. And that's what's going to give you the mastery of this life of fulfilling your dreams because you're following the elements. You're doing exactly what I teach. Let the emotional body be connected to the words. Let the words enter into the body. And then action springs forward. Okay, now I got it. But you can't push. You're a little impatient. That's your biggest problem.
But I keep Henry here. And do you know what Henry represents? Henry is the sea turtle that I always keep on my desk, stuffed animal sea turtle. And what he represents is to remind me that there's nothing that can't be done twice as good by going at half the speed.
That's my practice. You're speaking straight to my heart. I walk everywhere. I don't even get in the car when I live here. I walk and I bike on an electric bike. Honestly, and I have a friend too.
You've got
What's your name? My name is Michael's new friend. I don't know yet. Can you ask Michael? Michael, what's this puppy's name?
Looks like Sanders. If I see
Sanders! Sanders! I knew it. It's Sander. I'm sorry I didn't know your name. Okay, we're having the craziest podcast.
I love it. And where did he go? Oh, Jessica brought Southern Comfort and took Southern Comfort away, but maybe Southern Comfort will come and join us in a minute, and we will bring the squirrel energy out here to balance it.
Southern Comfort?
Pookie, can you bring us Southern Comfort for a second?
Pokey. I love that we call her Pokey. How'd she get that name?
She got the name Pookie. It seems to follow her, but she's been upgraded to Pook Star because she has been upgraded. She is not just a Pookie. So I'm going to have Southern Comfort here. I can't believe Southern Comfort is going to make an appearance on air here today.
Do you know that both of you are Libra rising? Did you know that?
I did not know that. So what does that mean that we are both...
Pokey. No, that's not Pokey. That's Southern Comfort.
I'm Southern Comfort, and
I have that. I love you, Southern Comfort. I love you already.
I am pleased to meet your acquaintance.
You both have. It's so cute. Look at this. Is the craziest thing. You both have Libra rising, and so do I. And so does Southern Comfort. Southern Comfort.
What does that
mean? Got Libra rising too. It means you're real harmonious.
Yeah,
you love harmony. You love colors. Yes. Everything has to match. Look at your little outfit you got on, Southern Comfort. You look adorable.
Well, that's true. Gray and white and a little bit of brown.
Yes. I think he looks just perfect. But the thing about your charts, you and your wife and Southern Comfort, is it's all about harmony. Like nothing matters more to you than really being on. This is the best thing. You know who had Libra rising was Gandhi. I love that. Put your arms down. Let go of all of your ammunition. And let's just have a conversation. That's how we're going to win this fight. What a gift Libra rising is.
It's interesting because we do once every few weeks, we set a new intention, have a new prayer, pray to the angels. And each morning for a 11-day period, we're praying to the angels each morning. And so we choose, what is that intention? Where are we going with prayer? And or that intention for the next 11 days with the angels. And this morning we chose peace and harmony.
You can't make this shit up.
No. How does it get any better than this? So
that's both of you mutually having the same. The rising sign in astrology is your soul. There's the sun sign, you're a Virgo, and your moon is in Gemini. That's your emotions, that you need to talk about your emotions. But the rising sign that you and your wife both share is rising. It's the ascendant. You're both in the same path of where you're going on your higher self. And it's all about peace and harmony. If you look up Libra rising, the first word you're going to see is peace and harmony.
Woohoo!
So you're on the right street. And now we have to hang up. This has been the most interesting podcast I've ever done. Never before has a stuffed animal made an appearance on any podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the time. Where can people go to find out more and to find your beautiful book?
So you can get my book on Amazon, and you can get my book on my website, and you can get the information on Debra Silverman Astrology. You know what I have that you would love, Michael? I have a writing class called Tell Me a Story.
Ooh.
And people come into a room and it follows the elements. So every week is an element, and you write, and I give you a prompt. We put some music on, and people share their, I'm going to invite you to it. Tell Me a Story happens once a month. Yes. You would be so fun to have in there.
I would love to be there. I would certainly love to take your class on astrology as well. I've got to throw one more question out. We might just cut it off air, or you might not even have time to answer, which is the baby question.
There's no question that by the end of next year, you will be pregnant. That's my intuition. I'm just going to say that out loud. It's a hard one to say because I hate being wrong, but I can promise you, if it's going to happen, her change of that mindset that I talked about, which has been so hard on her, where she's had to reduce her mind to direct surrender, and then your template shift with that 7-year cycle, the Saturn cycle, is going to occur by the end of next year. So this is the perfect window, because that cycle goes away for her. So finally she's done with this, like, leave me alone. And then you have a template shift where you find home. Yeah, positive everywhere I look.
Woohoo! All right. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people, Debra?
Just be yourself. Everyone else is taken. You were not pushed on the bus. This is a volunteer position. And as soon as you remember who you are, it gets so much easier. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. Come see us and come study with us. And that's why I'm alive.
Thank you. Thank you. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the missing element, and begin discovering who you truly are today, and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Debra. What a cool interview I just had with Debra Silverman. We talked about certainly all the 4 elements, what I am, what Jessica is, what you are, helping you discover what your element is. And we even talked about what the element was of, that's right, Southern Comfort. I guess I'm a fire too, and I have a Libra rising, as I'm told that Jessica does and Michael does too. And so with that said, to check out, before we do that, we were talking about journaling with Debra. We were talking about hearing from your angels, from your guides. To do that, get the automatic writing experience. It is the easiest way to be able to tune into your angels, to your guides, to get guidance, to get direction, to say, all right, I'm discovering what my element is. How do I use that to shift my life? And universe, please give me guidance. So to get automatic writing, of course you can go to Amazon, but you can also go to automaticwriting.com and get a whole boatload of bonuses as well. Again, that's automaticwriting.com. So to check out more incredible shows, click here, subscribe below, be sure to give this a big thumbs up, and click that bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, and live events every Sunday night with me. Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Woo-hoo.